trophy is going to look really nice in somebody's trophy case at the end of all of this. Courtney Lau alongside ACC Player of the Year, Katie George, Olympic bronze medalist, Holly McPeak. We are here at the NCAA Volleyball Selection Show because we have the bracket. Don't look.
Don't zoom in.
Don't look yet. We're here to talk brackets. We want to let you guys know where you're going to be playing, where your team is going to be playing. So exciting. But first, talking about the sport in general, we love volleyball. You love volleyball. And we have new fans coming to this sport. 22 schools are now averaging over 3,000 fans per game. That is up from 14 last season. We had 10 matches this year, see an attendance of over 10,000 fans. I think this is amazing because these athletes deserve to play in these environments, and we're seeing some really exciting moments.
We saw upsets every week this season, and more programs have elevated their game. So we're seeing a higher level across the board. I think there's going to be more drama in this NCAA tournament than ever before.
Well, there was so much parity this season and made the selection committee's job really difficult. I mean, we waited a long time to get this bracket, longer than we waited in years past because there was so much deliberation. It's a good bracket.
It's a really good bracket, and I can't wait to show it to you, but I'm going to make you wait just a little bit longer.
Cool.
Some housekeeping before we get to who's in and who's out. Go ahead and get out your calendar. The tournament starts on December 5th. That is this week, by the way. The fifth set will be back on our ESPN family of networks. That's our Whip Around show. We've got you covered all the way through the tournament until we crown a champion December 22nd, and for the second straight year, we will crown that champion on ABC. New this year, we have a volleyball tournament bracket challenge. So make sure you get out your phone right now, scan this QR code. You can fill out your bracket and figure out who you think is going to make one of the last four teams standing in Louisville, and you can pick your own national champion. Very exciting. Okay, so we know how important it is to be a top four seed in this tournament. If you're one of the top four seeds, that means you have the chance to host all the way through the round of 8. So should we tell them who they are?
Please.
Yes, let's do it. The number 1 overall seed in this tournament, it goes to Pitt. Number 2 is Nebraska. Number 3, that would be Penn State. And number 4, goodness, we're mean. We are not going to tell you, at least not just yet. These are your top 4 seeds. Who else is falling into the bracket? The bracket reveal coming up. Waiting anxiously across the country to hear their name called. Teams around the nation. We're about to reveal that bracket on the other side.
Mean.
Longest commercial break of your lives, we know. 64 teams are about to hear their names called. It is time to reveal the bracket. Let's go into it. The number 1 team, we already told you, the Pitt Panthers. Oklahoma sneaking in there. How about that? Boomer Sooner. They couldn't wait. The 8 seed, their first appearance since 2019. It's the second season for Aaron Mansfield as head coach. Someone's got quick fingers. Just taking the Boomer Sooner schooner right into the bracket. Look. We'll reset here. We're talking about the Pitt Panthers team. We already told you they're getting the top seed in this tournament. This is a Pitt team. The impressive start to the season. I mean, 36 straight sets to start the season. They won.
Well, first and foremost, they're the best offensive team in the country, and they hold their opponent to the lowest hitting percentage. They are dominant on both sides of the ball. They've been in the national semifinal for 3 years straight and have not been able to progress to the final. They are motivated, and nobody talks about it.
You have to imagine that the experience they gained, especially with 2 true freshmen a year ago playing on that stage, and Olivia Babcock and Tori Stafford, they were excellent. That experience is so invaluable, gaining that at such a young age. That's the motivating factor for this Pitt team. They have been fantastic. I mean, Olivia Babcock is unbelievable. Tori Stafford is on the outside pin. She gets a lot of the garbage balls, but still is hitting an unbelievable amount at 342 on the season. I think Rachel Fairbanks is one of the most versatile players in the country at setter. I just think that Dan Fisher has done such a nice job from a recruitment standpoint of developing depth. They are such a deep team, and I'm really curious to see, is this the year that Pitt finally breaks through and makes it to a national championship title game?
Okay. Who else is excited besides Oklahoma? Let's go. Boomer Sooner, we apologize for that. Pitt is the number 1 team since 2018. Pitt has won more matches than any other D1 program at 197. Who will the Pitt Panthers face? Pitt watching on and seeing their name called. They already know they're that top seed. And you mentioned Olivia Babcock, Tori Stafford, Rachel Fairbanks. They're all semifinalists for the National Player of the Year. Morehead State, the automatic qualifier out of the OVC. They returned their entire roster from last year, making their 4th appearance. Moving on in our bracket, whose name is called next? It's a first-timer, the UTEP Miners.
I love it, UTEP. Pete, he better travel with you guys, baby.
3rd most wins in school history this season for UTEP. And they already know who they're facing because Oklahoma crashed the party a little bit early. Let's go, Sooners. First appearance since 2019. Alexis Shelton, by the way, double-figure kills in 29 straight matches. Oklahoma, don't forget, in the SEC this year.
I want to know, was that their initial reaction when we put them up early, or do we have to play that back?
They've been partying the whole time. Next, the 5 seed, the TCU Horned Frogs.
TCU led by Melanie Parr, one of the most dangerous offensive players in the country. She's lethal from the back line, and she averages over 5 kills per set.
TCU's opponent, someone who has been in all but 2 tournaments. That would be Hawaii, their 42nd NCAA appearance. They're led by Kaylin Alexander, who averages over 5 kills and over 5 points per set. They've also got a win over SMU this season. Next up in our bracket, the High Point Panthers, the automatic qualifier out of the Big South. 5 straight Big South regular season titles. Get it, Panthers. Their 8th NCAA appearances. They three-peat in their conference tournament. And High Point's opponent, that'll be the Oregon Ducks' 5th straight appearance. A team that started the season 11-1. They boast Mimi Collier, who's top 10 in career kills in Oregon history. Continuing on in the top left portion of our bracket with the 3 seed, and that would be the Kentucky Wildcats.
Craig Skinner's group always just seems to peak at the right time. The Cats are led by outside hitter Brooklyn DeLay. The jump that she's made from her freshman to sophomore season has been so much fun to watch, and it also helps when you have a veteran setter in Emma Grome.
And Kentucky's opponent? That will be Cleveland State out of the Horizon. They won the Horizon League tournament as a 3 seed. It's their first 20-win season since 2017. And shout out to Emma Walker, first in career digs in Viking history. Western Kentucky making an appearance as an automatic qualifier.
Won 24 straight matches. Kaylee Cox is an absolute force on the outside, while setter Callie Barr does a really nice job running this offense. If Western Kentucky can adjust to who they're going to play, their size and physicality, I think this is a great first-round matchup.
Ooh, and who would that be?
The Minnesota Gophers.
Give it to me, Minnesota. 29th appearance, 10 in a row. Melanie Schaffmaster, their setter, she's 4th among active players when it comes to assists. Minnesota, one of 8 teams with multiple wins against top 10 teams. Coming in next, out of the SEC, that would be Missouri.
Missouri has adjusted well to setter Marina Crownover, a transfer who's been doing a fantastic job feeding Michael Vernon and Jordan Iliff. They are a team to be reckoned with.
Congrats to Mizzou. Back-to-back appearances in their 2nd season under Dawn Sullivan. Mizzou's opponent would be Texas State, who enters on an 11-match winning streak. They're the automatic qualifier out of the Sun Belt. They won their 5th Sun Belt tournament title, getting a sweep of the number 1 seed in that tournament, which was Arkansas State. Back to the bracket. Who is up next? Wichita State, let me hear you, Shockers. Out of the American, the automatic qualifier. They're back in the tournament for the first time since 2017. And get this, they won the American tournament. Got the trophy right there as the 4th seed, their first tournament title since 2020. They got a tough opponent, though. SMU, a team that was not ranked in the preseason. Then they shocked the nation, beating Nebraska and Pitt. Celia Cullen is their leader. She is their setter, drives that team, and they are a 2 seed. So here is the top left portion of the bracket, with Pitt being the number 1 team. A Pitt team who, we've mentioned it, has been so close, but has yet to win a national championship. We talked about the weapons this Pitt team has. The balance of the Pitt Panthers, it makes them a scary opponent.
It does. They're relentless defensively. And we didn't even talk about Bree Kelly, who's hitting .580, leading the country. She just doesn't have enough attempts. So they're dangerous from every position.
So let's take you back to this bracket and see the teams that have been revealed so far. This Kentucky team, how does that interest you, Katie?
Well, I think that we've seen kind of a pattern from Craig Skinner's groups over the years. They start off a little rocky. I mean, this group started out 6-6 on the season. Incredibly tough schedule, but they were working in some new pieces, especially at middle blocker. And then they just always seem to find their rhythm, to hit their stride at the right time, and they peak going into the tournament. So I just think that this Kentucky team is in a really good place as they just rattled off their 8th straight SEC title. I mean, that's incredible, especially when you had Texas coming into the conference. Everybody thought that was going to shake things up, but Craig Skinner's group has continued to maintain and be so steady in the SEC. And then when you look at the other top seeds in this bracket, you've got Oregon and then you've got SMU.
I like Oregon. I think they're very dynamic. They had to replace 5 players in their lineup, and they replace them with the freshman setter, Kristen Klein, who's been really good. Oni Ofebu, one of the most physical middle blockers in the country, and of course, returning All-American Mimi Collier on the pin.
Yeah, how do we list her last? That's pretty impressive. All right, so we kind of teased you a little bit earlier and didn't give you who was that last top 4 seed. Contenders for the top 4 overall seed. Remember, this is important because you have the chance to host all the way through the regional final. That's the round of 8. Creighton, Louisville, Stanford in the mix here. Here are their resumes. But the number 4 team in this tournament, it's the Louisville Cardinals. Wow.
They're actually at the Louisville airport right now watching at a bourbon bar restaurant because they just landed on a commercial flight after they lost, unfortunately, yesterday to Stanford. And so there was a big question. Was the committee going to view Louisville's 2 losses to Pittsburgh on Wednesday, as well as the loss to Stanford just yesterday, enough to drop them out of that top 4 seed? And when we talked to the committee earlier to get their reasoning behind it, they said, look, Louisville had the number 1 strength of schedule, non-conference. They also had the number 1 strength of schedule in conference. They have a higher RPI than Stanford. They also said they have no losses outside of the top 5 in terms of RPI. And then they said they have more top 10 wins than Creighton and Stanford. And they said that was significant. Those top 10 RPI wins pushed them over the edge to get them into a seeding position where now, if they make a far run into this, they could play at the KFC Yum Center and Freedom Hall all the way through right in their backyard.
Wow.
And it was close between those 3 teams. Creighton was right there as well, but they had no top RPI wins in the top 10, and that was the difference.
Yeah. Okay, so Louisville is the final top seed. Those 4 teams, chance to host all the way through the round of 8. Let's continue with our bracket. Who will Louisville face? Remember, they've made a semifinals 2 of the last 3 seasons. It'll be Chicago State, their first ever NCAA appearance, most wins in program history. It's their first season playing in the Northeast, the automatic qualifier out of there. Next up in this portion of the bracket, Illinois, the first appearance since 2021. Raina Terry is their career leader in aces, points, and kills. The Fighting Illini fired up in their 8th season under Chris Thomas. The Illini's opponent, who would that be? Take you to the Missouri Valley. UNI, Northern Iowa, the automatic qualifier, and they're coming in hot on a 20-match winning streak. 3 straight Missouri Valley tournament titles. This will be their 26th NCAA appearance. And get this, they have won 42 straight games against conference opponents. Pretty impressive. The 5 seed in this bracket, that would be BYU.
BYU, led by Heather Olmstead, always in the battle. They're super competitive, led by a freshman setter, one of the best freshman setter in the country, Alex Bauer.
And BYU's opponent, that is going to be Loyola Chicago, the Ramblers.
They knocked off the number 1 seeded Dayton in the A-10 Conference Tournament Championship. Setter Bree Borum runs the show. She's got over 1,000 assists this season, but she's also extremely offensive. She has over 200 kills on 500 attempts. I mean, this girl must be attacking left and right. That's unbelievable.
These 2 setters love it.
Yeah, we love it. Wow, I wish I could be that. That time has passed.
Moving on, Western Michigan, they've won 13 of their last 14 matches. Setter Logan Case, by the way, is the MAC career assist leader with over 6,400 assists in her career. They're the automatic qualifier out of the MAC, and their opponent will be the 4 seed, and that is Purdue. Boiler up. Eva Hudson, one of those National Player of the Year semifinals, actually had a season high 28 kills in a sweep of Oregon earlier, a couple of days ago. Moving on. Who is the 3 seed? Out of the Big 12, that would be Kansas.
Kansas led by another setter. Notice we're featuring setters. Cameron Turner is special. She runs this offense, but she's also got plenty of experienced attackers. Toyosi on a banjo in the middle, Caroline Bien and Ia Alnati, very experienced in all their positions.
Fun fact, Anna Banjo, also a chemical engineering major. Don't know how she does that, but impressive. Kansas's opponents, that would be Colgate. 4 straight conference tournament titles. They were able to beat Army in 5 sets. Milan Bayless, the first sophomore to be named the Patriot League Player of the Year since 2016. Congrats to Colgate. We'll see you dancing this year. Next up, the NC State Wolfpack.
Talk about playing to the final whistle. A week ago, NC State's RPI was 48. They would have likely been on the outside looking in on for the second straight season. Instead, they take down SMU yesterday in 5 sets. Their RPI jumped to 35. Their season extends into the postseason because of the win yesterday.
NC State's opponent, going to be a tough one. The Florida Gators, 34 straight appearances. They've made 2 appearances in the finals, the last coming in 2017. I hope Kennedy Martin is icing her arm while she's watching this. She has had double-figure kills in every match of her career, had a program record 32 earlier this season. The 7th seed in this portion of the bracket, Loyola Marymount, the Lions, the first appearance since 2022. They've got back-to-back 20-win seasons for the first time since 2014-2015. And LMU going to be facing off against the Washington Huskies. They went 16-15 last season. Guess what? They're back in the tournament, turned things around, first appearance since 2022 in their second season under Leslie Gabriel. It's been a while since we've seen this name in the bracket. Sacramento State, their first appearance since 2007. They're the automatic qualifier out of the Big Sky. They upset the number 1 seed, Northern Colorado, in the Big Sky Championship. And Bridget Smith had a career high, casual 30 kills, was named the tournament most outstanding player in that match. Their opponent is going to be a program that has won more national titles than anyone, the Stanford Cardinal out of the ACC. They've got 2-time first-team All-American Cami Minor. She's also a National Player of the Year semi-finalist.
Worth noting, Louisville and Stanford both in the same quarter. They split in the regular season. We mentioned, obviously, yesterday's match. That was a moot point to the committee, but you could possibly see a rematch between the Cardinals and the Cardinal.
Ooh, we love a little drama, and so does the committee, I bet. This Louisville team sneaking in, getting that top 4 seed. They're led by Anna DeBeer. This is a player that grew up going to Louisville matches. She is from the state. She has a chance to win a national championship in her home city.
Anna DeBeer has been the face of this Louisville program for the last 5 years. She is something special on the outside. She leads by example. Her game face, she is all in every play, doesn't smile till the game's over, but she gives so much energy back to her team, and she is their leader on the court.
And don't forget, Elena Scott also is a Louisville native. She is a semifinalist for the National Player of the Year. She's their libero.
I think she's one of the best liberos in the country, without a doubt, and she makes it look so unbelievably easy, whether that's in serve receive, as a passer, or as a defender. The 2 of them wanted to come back this season, Anna DeBeer particularly, because she knew that this Final Four was going to be in the KFC Yum Center, and she wanted to lead her team back to a potential national championship game.
All right, so from the Cardinals to the Cardinal, Cami Minor, and I've got 2 setters up here. So, of course, we're doing a breakdown on Cami Minor.
Of course we are. Cami Minor is dynamic. She keeps her team in system, whether it's a bump set, whether she's on her knees. She knows how to feed her hitters, and she's got new hitters in new positions, but she has found a rhythm with them, and they've only gotten better as the season's gone on.
They feed off her energy. They go as she goes. Obviously, having Aaliyah Rubin as well as a force on that outside pin is so valuable. But I have to say, moving into the ACC, that made waves, but their travel schedule was daunting. Physically, mentally, emotionally taxing. They traveled some 25,000 miles in ACC play alone. The fact that they were able to weather that and play so well and position themselves like the way that they did. I just hats off to Stanford because that was a big undertaking and they nailed it.
All right, so half the field has been revealed. We still have half of the bracket to go, and some teams still, are we starting to bite our nails? Are we sitting on our hands? Sweating a little bit?
Definitely sweating.
We'll reveal the other half of the bracket when we come back. Partying, some teams still watching at their watch party, waiting to party if they hear their names called. We revealed half of the bracket, and the other half is on deck. Let's get to it. The top right portion of the bracket, that's where we find Penn State. First time that they're a top 4 seed since 2017. By the way, they made the semifinals that year. They shared the Big Ten title with Nebraska. They've been in every NCAA tournament. Who will the Nittany Lions face first? That would be Delaware State, their second appearance, the first since 2022. They upset number 1 Howard in the tournament championship as the 3 seed, and they're coming into this tournament on a 6-match winning streak. Let's go Hornets. Coming up next, the Yale Bulldogs.
Year after year, I get to hype up the Bulldogs. Aaron Appleman's team consistently represents the Ivy League in the tournament. Now the next step is for this Yale team to get a first-round win. The last time they did that was in 2008, and they have a chance to do so against North Carolina as the 8th seed, their second 20-win season since 2016, second season under Mike Shaw, and their first appearance since 2021. The Tar Heels fired up. They also picked up their highest ranked win since 2020 when they took down number 19, Florida State. The 5 seed in this portion of the bracket, that will be Marquette, making its 4th straight appearance, an at-large bid. Out of the Big East, they finished second in the Big East behind Creighton, won 12 straight Big East matches during the season. So the Golden Eagles, their first opponent, will be FGCU. Out of the Atlantic Sun, the automatic qualifier, 4 straight times they have been in this tournament. Back-to-back ASUN regular season titles to go along with that, too. Skylar English was the conference tournament MOP. College of Charleston, the Cougars' first appearance since 2017. They have their most wins since that 2017 season at 25. Also, watch out for their defense, a program record 335 team blocks this year. They were able to win the conference tournament in 5 sets over Delaware. Their opponent will be the 4 seed, the Utah Utes, back in the tournament for the first time since 2021. They picked up their highest ranking since 2021 when they made it to 17 this season, and they've got their most wins since 2008, started the season winning 12 of their first 13 matches. Up next, haven't called their name just yet. The 2-time defending champ, the back-to-back defending champ, the Texas Longhorns. Maddie Skinner, she's peaking at the right time. She's starting to look like postseason Maddie. They switched from a 6-2 to a 5-1, and that has served them well. We'll get into it in a bit. But they are looking efficient as an offense. Had a scare, though, yesterday with a 5-setter against Ole Miss.
Yes, they did. Who will they face? It might be an in-state opponent. The Islanders, Texas A&M Corpus Christi, their 5th appearance, first Power Conference win this season when they took down at Texas Tech. And you got to give a shout-out to Kendall Payne. She's the first in program history with 1,500 kills and 1,000 digs. In this section of our bracket, UT Arlington, the Mavericks, back in the tournament for the first time. It's been a minute. Since 2002, they won their first Western Athletic Conference tournament title, beating Grand Canyon. They actually trailed 14-11 in the 5th set, came back and won their first title. Their opponent will be the USC Trojans.
USC led by senior setter Mia Tuaninga. She runs one of the most dynamic offenses in the country. In the last 4 or 5 matches, they've been way lower on the air side. They could be dangerous in the tournament.
Oh, USC's got the hype in their watch party. Love to see it. The 7 seed coming up, that would be the Florida State Seminoles. 4 straight appearances coming out of the ACC. They boast Audrey Koenig, the ACC Player of the Year last year. Back-to-back 20-win seasons. Also helped that they were able to add Taylor Head from Arkansas in the offseason. Facing an SEC foe, we just mentioned Ole Miss gave Texas a hard time. They're in their 3rd season under Bree Henry. First tournament appearance since 2021. They'll be seeking their first win in this tournament.
Holy beanbags.
Right?
It was awesome.
I think I want one of those.
The comfiest watch party we've seen. Although North Carolina was at somebody's house. That was a good call.
How about the South Dakota Coyotes? 5th appearance in the last 7 tournaments. They won their conference tournament as the 3 seed, taking down South Dakota State. They've got 20 wins for the 3rd time in the last 4 seasons. And then the 2 seed, That goes to the Creighton Blue Jays out of the Big East.
This is such an elite team. Creighton has experience in every position and one of the most athletic setters in the country in Kendra Wait. And then Norris, Ava Martin, as well as two big, dangerous middles.
All right, so this is the top right portion of the bracket where Penn State is the top seed. And this Penn State program boasts a freshman setter in Izzy Stark, who has been unbelievable this year.
Izzy Stark has such a high volleyball IQ. She came in January because she knows and knew that she wanted to lead this team to the promised land. And here they are in a top seed position after clinching a part of the Big Ten title.
And Penn State, of course, playing this season for their head coach, Katie Schumacher-Cauley, who is battling breast cancer. They have certainly rallied around her. And you see where Izzy stacks up among freshman setters.
Freshman setters across the country. It's been the story, but you see all these players have their teams in good seeded positions in the NCAA tournament bracket.
Okay, let's talk about the team who has won the last two national championships. Texas. Madison Skinner on her own has 3 national titles to her name.
Which is crazy in its own right, but she just seems to elevate, you guys, every time she gets to the month of December. She plays her best volleyball, elevates the play of everybody around her. Texas, interestingly, started out the season in a 6-2. Ella Swindle, a true freshman a year ago, led them to a national title, but then they moved back to a 5-1 with Avery Carlson midseason, and what that did was it allowed Maddie Skinner to become an offensive threat from the back row. She is lethal from the back row. By going to that 5-1, it's allowed them to be a more efficient offense, and we've seen them pick it up and start trending in the right direction as we get to the postseason.
Really hard to three-peat. Texas will try to do just that. We'll see how the Longhorns fare in this year's tournament. Okay, looking at this Creighton team, we talked about it. They had a chance to be one of those top 4 seeds. Had a great season. Creighton winning 20 straight matches, their 13th straight NCAA tournament appearance, and their only losses to Nebraska and Louisville. But they boast a pretty impressive player, too, in Kendra Wait, who is the conference player and setter of the year, not just in this season, but in back-to-back seasons, and she's joining us now. Kendra, congratulations on getting back in the tournament. I want to know, you've been on this team for a while now. What makes this year's team different from other teams you've been on?
Yeah, I think this year we're really just leaning into each other. We have 19 amazing women, and we're just going for it every single day, trying to get 1% better, and just really leaning into every moment we got.
Kendra, what's your favorite part of running this Creighton offense, and why is it so dangerous?
Yeah, we got weapons all over the place, from middles, right sides, outsides, back row attack. We're just versatile, and we'll just go for everything.
Kendra, thank you so much for your time. We can't wait to watch you and the rest of your Creighton team in the tournament this year.
Teammates think she did a nice job.
Yeah. I think she did a great job, too. She is a semifinalist, by the way, for the National Player of the Year. Okay, so moving on, ready to reveal a few more teams. We have one more portion of the bracket to get through, and I think we should go there. Nebraska is the top seed in this portion of the bracket. Remember, they went to the championship match last year with no seniors. They were swept by Texas. They'll be seeking their first title since 2017. It would be a 6th national championship for the Nebraska program. They'll start out by facing Florida A&M, the Lady Rattlers out of the SWAC, the automatic qualifier. Most wins for the Lady Rattlers since 2004. They picked up their 3rd SWAC title in the last 4 years. Okay, South Dakota State Jackrabbits out of the Summit, 2nd appearance. It's been a while since the first one. The first one was back in 2007. This team started the season 22-0. They were actually the last unbeaten team in the nation, the most improved team in the country, too. 18 more wins than last season. They're going to open up against the 8th seed in Miami.
Miami has been dangerous all season long. They have 2 upset wins over Stanford and Texas. Flor Marie, Heredia Colon, and Grace Lopez are their 2 dangerous attackers who've helped them win those big matches.
Great shot, by the way.
Yeah, Miami's got its first 20-win season since 2021. Next team up, flying high with the Dayton Flyers. They only dropped 2 sets in conference play. Their 7th undefeated conference season. They're actually 2nd in the nation in sweeps with 22 this season, and they boast the Conference Player of the Year and Coach of the Year. They're going to start out by facing a team out of the SEC who was picked last in the conference. Hello, South Carolina. They're back in the tournament for the first time since 2021. Tom Mendoza leading the way for this program in his 7th season. Wofford Terriers back-to-back. Last year, we saw them make their very first appearance in this tournament. Now they're back again as the automatic qualifier out of the SoCon after being picked 5th in the conference. They tied a program record set last season with 23 wins again this year. They're going to open up facing off against the Baylor Bears, a program that has 7 seniors after having none last year. 9th straight appearance for the Baylor Bears out of the Big 12.
They got the pajama party. They're all in pajama pants. I love it.
Best kind.
Whatever you do to get ready for the tournament, whatever it takes. Number 3 seed, up. A team new to the Big 12. That's the Arizona State Sun Devils.
Head coach J.J. Viniel, in his 2nd year, and his team won the Big 12. They've been so impressive. Fastest offense in the country, run by Argentina Ung, and she's got Jelly Sear, Claire Gita, and Shania Cromartie as big targets.
Arizona State's going to open up against New Hampshire. How about those Wildcats out of the America East, the automatic qualifiers, making their first appearance since 2016. It's their 8th overall, and they won that American East Conference tournament. 17 blocks in the final, by the way. That's a pretty big number. Colorado State is up out of the Mountain West. 32nd appearance for Colorado State. 20 wins for the first time since 2019. And their opponent is going to be a foe from the SEC. That would be Texas A&M. The Aggies have their most wins since 2019. High point for the Aggies this season was ending Texas's 79-match home win streak. You know they love to do that against a rival. Out of the ACC, coming in as the 7 seed, that would be the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets.
Well, Michelle Collier's group took the number 1 overall seed in Pitt to the wire yesterday, falling 17-15 in the 5th set. This is always such a strong, scrappy defensive team led by outside hitter Tamara Otene. I think they have a really fascinating first-round matchup.
Ooh, and that would be against the Tennessee Lady Vols. Nina Chiich leads the way for Tennessee. She had 42 kills in a match, by the way. Yeah, it's impressive. They're making their 4th straight appearance and will open up against Georgia Tech. Fairfield is back out of the Metro Atlantic. They're going to look to be the first team from their conference to win an NCAA tournament match. It's their 9th appearance in the last 13 tournaments as they've won back-to-back conference titles. And the last team to be announced.
Like, is Wisconsin at all worried?
No, come on.
Just waiting. Like, where are we going to show up? I would not have wanted to see Wisconsin show up in my quarter. I'm just going to tell you that. If you're Nebraska, I know Nebraska has gotten the upper hand in the 2 regular season meetings, but it is so difficult to beat a great team 3 times in the same season, and that's what potentially Nebraska is going to be tasked with.
Wow. All 64 teams have been announced. This is the bottom right portion of the bracket where Nebraska is that top seed. Remember, we saw them in the national championship match last year. Got to give some love to the Littles on this Nebraska program. They've got some great defensive players.
Nebraska takes so much pride in their defense. In their Littles in the backcourt, Lainey Choboy on the right back position right here. Look at her just cover that corner. When a team covers and moves into open spaces, it's hard to put a ball down. And then you've got Lexi Rodriguez on that left wing. She's on the perimeter and then gobbles up that ball in the middle, keeping it off the floor for Nebraska. They are relentless. And then in the front row, Andy Jackson in the middle. She is so good laterally, and she gets out and closes that block to the pin. Quick laterally, again, shrinking that court for their opponents.
One of the interesting trends this summer, or this season from Nebraska has been the fact that they've allowed the fewest aces. And if you remember and you think back to what we saw a year ago in the national final, they've shored that up because they were served off the court against Texas, and now that's no longer a weakness.
Yeah, I think those big pressure moments, that's something that they've experienced and they've learned from it, and they tried to focus on it so they'd be better.
All right, in this portion of the bracket, the number 2 seed, we mentioned it, Wisconsin, and Sarah Franklin, who was the National Player of the Year last year.
Oh, she is so much fun to watch. She has such a heavy arm on that outside pin. She does it all for this team, and I think she looks physically fit She has the stamina to carry this team on a deep run into the NCAA tournament. I mean, when you look at her and then you compare her with Carter Booth, Anna Schmeck, Cece Crawford, Devin Robinson, the list goes on and on and on, and they all consist of that Great Wall of Madison. They're one of the best blocking teams in the country, but they are led by Sarah Franklin and what she's able to do all the way around.
Yeah, and look at her improvement.
Her numbers. She was the AVCA Player of the Year last year. Now Sarah Franklin's numbers are better.
All right, everybody knows who is in the tournament now. Our stars are getting set to shine as the tournament starts in just a few days. Some great reactions across the country as teams hear their name called and now get set to play and scout who they're facing in this year's NCAA championship. When we come back, we'll break down by conference and take a look at a few more teams as the NCAA volleyball selection special continues.